Hello and welcome. This is part 8 of the Massachusetts versus Karen Reed Daubert hearing. And the hearing resumed on Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. I was able to be in Dedham, Massachusetts yesterday in person with the full intention of attending the hearing in person inside the courtroom. However, none of the Karen Reed supporters were permitted inside the Superior Court, despite being led to believe that we would be permitted inside the court. But before I get into that, I want to show you a few photographs I was able to take. Now, it was 18 degrees outside. 18 degrees Fahrenheit. And I say Fahrenheit because I know some of my viewers live in other countries that don't use Fahrenheit. So, I arrived there close to 8:30, and I parked right on High Street. And parking was easy, thankfully. It's usually not around the courthouses on High Street. But yeah, 18 degrees outside, guys. It was brutally cold. And I did not take very many photos because it was so cold. And I also underdressed because, again, I had every intention of being able to go inside the courtroom. But that, again, it didn't happen, and I will tell you why. But these are just a few photos I took of when Karen Reed arrived to the Superior Court. This is Alan Jackson in the front. And you can see the signs and the supporters. It's a blurry, sort of blurry image of Karen Reed as she's walking up toward the Superior Court. Another one of Karen Reed. So the sun is misleading. With the sun, you think, oh, it's beautiful, it's sunny out. No, it was blistering cold. Okay, we were suffering out there. Holy crap, we were all complaining. Yeah. Even if you've lived in New England most of your life, that kind of cold and the wind, you just don't get used to it. And there's Karen Reed again. This is probably my favorite one, even though her eyes are almost closed. I just like the way the sign appeared perfectly in the photo. Okay, and then this is when they are going up the steps. So Karen Reed walked in with David Unetti, Alan Jackson, and Dr. Marie Russell. I didn't take a video of this. I just took photographs, and unfortunately the glare of the sun and my camera prevented clearer photos. It's kind of hard to see who's on the stairs there. That's Karen Reed walking up the steps to the courthouse. And this is the third demonstration I've been to with the supporters. And that energy only gets stronger every time I'm around the Karen Reed supporters. There is this dominant, like this persevering energy of love and unity among the supporters, and they're cheering and energized for Karen Reed, in support of Karen Reed, and they are still like this despite it being 18 degrees outside. They are freezing, and yet they're still chanting and shouting and in support of Karen Reed. It's something to experience in person. You might see a lot of videos of the Karen Read supporters online or photos of the Karen Read supporters, but you really have to experience it in person to know what I'm talking about. Everyone is there for the same purpose. Everyone feels outraged and offended by what has happened to Karen Read and John O'Keefe through this entire ordeal. So it's a mixture of anger, outrage, and love and unity. They're all there for the same purpose, the same mission, to see it through, to see that justice is served in this case despite the odds. And the odds really are against Karen Read because of the overt corruption we've all witnessed. And there's no end in sight when it comes to the corruption. I believe that is David Yannetti walking in. And the glare of the sun again. So sorry about the glare. And again, I was freezing, so I am likely taking these photos while my hands are trembling, like not like Jennifer McCabe, right? What did Jennifer McCabe say? Oh, Karen was yelling in my ear and she told me to Google how long does it take to die in the cold, right? Jennifer McCabe. Yeah. We all know that's bullshit, but my hands, I am telling you, my hands were legitimately trembling and shaking because I was so cold. So, yeah, more glare. And, oh, that's Dr. Marie Russell. She was wearing a purple coat on her way inside the courthouse. I will play this video for you. This is when we were all waiting. The supporters were all waiting outside to be let into the courthouse. And it was around 8:40, 8:50 or so when we started hearing that the Dobert hearing was going to take place in a much smaller courtroom than it did last week or 2 weeks ago. And we were all suspicious of the supporters and we were all talking amongst each other, and we were all like, why is this high profile case being put into a smaller courtroom? Are they serious? Like, this is Dedham, Massachusetts. This is Norfolk County, guys. Karen Read is the only high profile case taking place in that region. Okay. So for a high profile case to be given a tiny courtroom, it makes no sense. And a lot of the supporters and I were talking, and I heard a lot of them say that they felt like it was done on purpose, that they chose the coldest morning so far of the winter in Dedham, one of the coldest mornings in Dedham, knowing that the Karen Read supporters would be standing outside in the blistering cold, and they selected a smaller courtroom so that there would be no room for the Karen Read supporters to sit. So that was the suspicion among the supporters and myself, among all of us. We were talking, we were venting, and sure enough, and multiple people kept going up to the steps to ask the security guards, how much longer? They usually let us in by now. How much longer? We're freezing out here. And we were all given the runaround. I was told 5 more minutes at one point. One of the security guards came out to talk to us and said, 5 more minutes. And we're like, okay, something to look forward to, 5 more minutes, and nothing. And they didn't come out to tell us, guys, this really happened. None of the security guards came outside of the Superior Courthouse in Dedham to tell us that we would not be allowed inside. That was never communicated to us. Okay? They told us 5 more minutes. And then they gave different stories to other supporters, like 10 more minutes. So we were all getting the runaround. And sure enough, it was 9:01, 9:02, and we're all looking at our phones. We're all looking at our watches. And we're like, why is it late? Why aren't we inside yet? Sure enough, it must be started by now. It's after 9. The Dobert hearing is supposed to resume at 9 a.m. What the hell is going on? And we started checking on our phones on YouTube. And we were all seeing that on YouTube, the Daubert hearing was already streaming live. While we are outside, freezing our asses off, being told by the security guards in the Superior Courthouse that it's just going to be 5 more minutes, it never came. We were freezing our asses off. The Daubert hearing began, and we were never told that we were not going to be permitted inside. We were told the opposite. We were told it was going to be a smaller courtroom and that maybe not as many of us would be allowed inside. We were like, okay, that sucks, but we'll see how it goes. And we weren't that let down because Aidan Kearney's hearing was taking place just across the street at the district courthouse. So some of us were like, let's just go to Aidan Kearney's hearing if we can't get inside Karen Reed's hearing today. So we had options. But the fact is that the security guards lied to us. They, or whoever their superiors are, lied to us. We were lied to, and we were standing there for nothing, waiting for nothing, and nobody communicated to us. We all found out, guys, if you are watching this, the Karen Reed supporters found out that we weren't going to be let inside through YouTube because YouTube was already live streaming the Daubert hearing. Nobody from the courthouse communicated to us that our public right to attend the hearing would not be granted yesterday. So I will play this video for you so you can listen to the outrage.
Bullshit! You fucking hack!
Alright guys, we gotta use our voices now. We have to use our voices now. This is a public place. We need to be in there. Where's the support for Karen allowed? We can see it on camera. Where's the support for Karen? Only the family's allowed in there?
Hope he gets hit by a car. But it wasn't the bus.
Oh, that was the lieutenant.
Huh?
Officer?
Fuck yeah.
I know.
Only the family is allowed in there. This is bullshit. The public deserves to have seats during a hearing. This is bullshit. We are allowed to go in there. It's a public
Yeah,
place.
you guys didn't really live it.
And not have law enforcement. I can't wait for you to go right down with him. You suck. No support for Karen Reed out there, huh? You suck. You're a dickhead. You suck. Turn up, boys.
How do you guys back up? You just gotta keep the focus stairway.
This is unconstitutional. We're allowed, as the public, to have seats in there. It's only if you support the family, huh? It's only if you support the family. You stay right there.
I can put my belt back on.
So who decides this, Bev? Who decides that we can't go in?
This is a discrimination lawsuit right now. This is discrimination. This is discrimination.
There was someone like
JB, take a break.
Oh, no, I realize that. But then there's someone like Kyle.
Who decides we can't go in? Big Bev or future Karen Reed? No answer, right?
So this is the Daubert hearing, and yeah, so again, no Karen Reed supporters were let inside. Only the O'Keefe family and Karen Reed's family were let inside, and of course other legal personnel. And you can see from this video, from this image already, that it's a much smaller courtroom than it was last week. So it's like they weren't lying to us, right? They weren't lying to us that it was actually a smaller courtroom and there wasn't going to be any room for Karen Reed supporters, but they didn't communicate to us, guys. Again, it was YouTube. We were all streaming on our phones. YouTube told us we're not getting inside because it already started. Okay? So, and that's how it works, guys. When you are attending a hearing and you're being told to wait outside so that everybody else can get, everyone of priority gets their seat first. And again, that includes the families. And that's understandable. I'm not complaining about that. But that's how it goes. The family goes in first, they have their seat, and then the supporters are permitted to go inside. And this is all supposed to take place before the hearing begins, okay? That's why we were all waiting outside. And again, we were getting the runaround. We were being told something entirely different from the security guards. And again, no one ever came outside to tell us that we were not going to be let inside. So you can understand the outrage, especially when it's that cold outside, 18 degrees. And some of those supporters, guys, some of the Karen Reed supporters arrived there at 7 a.m. Some of them were up at 4 a.m. to be there at 7 a.m. I had an hour-long commute, and that wasn't even as bad as some other people who drove to get there on time, to get there early, to get there 2 hours before the hearing started. So they are standing in freezing temperatures for 2 hours just to show support to Karen Reed and to appear inside the courtroom on her behalf. You know? It's just wrong is what I'm saying. Like the security guards and whoever is running the Superior Court in Dedham, Massachusetts, needs to do better. Okay, it is a public right to attend these proceedings. And I highly doubt that there wasn't another courtroom available. Again, the Karen Reed case is a high profile case. It's going to draw a lot more people in the courtroom than any other case. And to me, this was deliberate. I agree with the fellow Karen Reed supporters who stood right by me yelling at the security guards, yelling at the courthouse, really. I agree with them. This was not right. You don't tell people 5 more minutes and then you force them to find out that they're not going to get inside the courtroom. You force them to find out on social media, on YouTube. You don't even have the balls to come back outside and say, I'm really sorry, there's no room in the courtroom. It's completely full. And yeah, they would be outraged anyway. But again, why put it in a smaller courtroom? What other high-profile case is there in Massachusetts? None. Complete bullshit, guys. Okay? And I agree with them that this was deliberate. It was strategic, you know? And sure, sit Karen Reed right there and sit the O'Keefes right next to her, but don't let any of her supporters inside. Just playing a brief portion of this so you can really see the courtroom, and then I will skip ahead to when the hearing begins.
session may be seated.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I'm just conferring it from Your Honor's permission, Mr. Brennan. I want to make sure.
Hold on. Only one person can speak at a time. I don't know. All right, so you were speaking to me, Mr. Alessi. I think Mr. Brennan was speaking to his co-counsel. No, that's okay. I just
wanted to let you know what we were doing. Mr. Brennan and I are just conferring to make sure we maximize the chances of the exhibits being right. So I've offered to Mr. Brennan something he wants to consider and look at what he has to make sure we do this efficiently.
Okay. So the copies that Mr. McDermott made are the attachments to the motions that were filed.
And provide a copy with the court's permission of the voir dire testimony, the trial testimony, and the Lanigan hearing.
Sure. Okay, I did not have Mr. McDermott do a copy of the Lanigan hearing.
I've had an extra copy that I've given
Great.
to Ms. Russell. I'm sorry, Dr. Russell.
Okay.
And if I may, can I write on the top of each transcript which each one is? That way it would be easier for Dr.
Is there a problem with that, Mr.
No
Alessi?
problem at all.
Okay.
May I get the first witness?
Yes.
May I speak, Your Honor?
Yes.
Dr. Russell, I'm handing you two documents. You have a third. The one before you is a transcript of the last hearing called the Lanigan hearing that you attended. This is a copy of your voir dire testimony. I've noted it on the top right for you, and also trial testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
I had asked you if you had expressed any uncertainty in the past about your opinion as it relates to the opinion you gave at the Lanigan hearing, at the last hearing, whether your position has changed or evolved is what I'm getting at. And you said that your position has not changed. Is that right?
That's correct.
You were asked at the trial about the injuries and how you think they happened. I want you to turn to the trial transcript. If you turn to page 19, line 21. Page 19, line 21. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
So the page number is here?
Yes.
And then line would be... Sorry. My apologies. This one is the trial. Okay. Do you recall at the trial, you were asked about the injuries, and you said, I believe that these injuries were sustained by an animal, possibly a large dog, because of the pattern of injuries? Do you remember saying that?
That's not here.
Okay. But I'm asking you, do you remember saying that at the trial, that you believe the injuries were sustained by an animal, possibly a large dog?
Something to that effect, yes.
Okay. And when you said that, you used the word possible because you weren't certain, were you?
Can you show me where that is?
Well, I'm asking a question, not asking about the transcript. The reason why...
I will say that I remember that during the trial, Dr. Russell did use the word possibly or possible. And again, this is prosecutor Hank Brennan hanging on her word because he can, because he thinks he has a shot at discrediting her or showing that her opinion has changed when it has not. It's a mere change in word usage. She hasn't changed her theory, which is that it's a dog. And again, she said it's with medical certainty that it's a dog. She said that recently. Maybe she did not think to say that during the trial. Maybe she was not asked during the trial if she had medical certainty that the wounds on John O'Keefe's arm were caused by a dog. But she was asked that just a few weeks ago, and she answered confidently, yes, those were caused by a dog. So whether she's saying possibly a large dog during the initial trial, or she's saying it now with medical certainty that it's a dog, it's still a dog. Big picture, it's still a dog. She didn't say bear. She didn't say raccoon. She didn't say mountain lion. She said dog. This is, to me, a desperate attempt from Hank Brennan to find her not credible because of one word, the word possibly.
When you were asked and you said it was by an animal, possibly a large dog, is because you were uncertain.
You know, Mr. Brennan, I think I explained that before, that in medicine there are no absolutes. And that's what, physicians are ingrained to think, is there are no absolutes in it that way. But
Yeah,
I was certain that it was a dog.
Yet you were testifying as an expert witness, weren't you?
Yes, I understand that, but I was thinking like a doctor.
I see. You understood as an expert witness that you were asking the jury to rely on your opinion. You were trying to be as accurate as possible, weren't you?
Yes, I usually do, yes.
You were trying to be precise in your testimony under oath, weren't you?
Yes, and I don't see a difference really between those.
And when you used the word possibly a large animal, that's different than an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, isn't it?
Objection, Your Honor.
In this witness's view, she can answer that.
That's not what the transcript says that he's referring to.
So he's not asking about the transcript. I'm going to allow the question.
Would you like me to repeat that?
Yes, please.
When you chose the word during your testimony to precisely describe what you thought, and you said possibly a large dog, that is different than to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, isn't it?
No, I don't think so.
You were asked whether or not you could tell what type of animal left these marks, and you said you couldn't with 100% certainty. Isn't that true?
With 100% certainty, that's correct.
And the reason why you don't have certainty when you first testified is because there really is no methodology in identifying dog bite wounds, is there?
That's incorrect.
I see. When you talk about methodology, is there any standard you're comparing your comparisons to?
So guys, notice how Hank Brennan is sticking with his reality. He's not sticking with Dr. Marie Russell's expertise or her perception or her reality, what she perceives as factual. He's continuing with his own narrative, with his own perception, with his own reality, and he's continuing to imply that Dr. Russell was uncertain. He's continuing to imply that possibly means uncertain.
There are multiple published peer-reviewed articles that describe what dog bites and dog injuries look like?
Is there any standard that you use? Is there any particular things you look at with specificity that you compare to a standard model?
The pattern.
The standard model of patterns, where do you get that from?
Pattern recognition is used throughout medicine. And, it's something that I have been...
It's also used throughout forensics. If you follow court cases long enough, crime cases long enough, all kinds of cases are solved through pattern recognition. A dog bite is going to look like a dog bite to any real medical examiner, any real medical expert. They are all going to know what a dog bite is.
Trained on since actually before medical school, but certainly in medical school.
Pattern recognition, you understand, is different than a standard of comparison. You understand there's a difference between those two things, don't you?
Oh, yes.
Okay, we'll talk about pattern recognition analysis in a minute. But what you're saying is that there's a methodology in identifying dog wounds. I'm asking you, where does that standard come from?
It comes from multiple published peer-reviewed articles.
Okay. Tell me one.
Munich.
I'm sorry?
Munich. We talked about that one last time.
The gentleman who studied human teeth.
No, he wrote about dog bites.
Okay. And what's the name of the article that you've relied on?
The name of the article, I have to refer to my report, but it's something to the effect of forensic evaluation of...
Do you have any specific memory about what you're relying on as a standard of comparison to identify dog bite marks?
Yes.
Okay, share that with us.
Again, the standard would be what the wound looks like, and the pattern recognition that goes along with it, along with the configuration of the wounds. It's a multifactorial process.
I'm trying to have you assist us in distinguishing between pattern recognition analysis, which we're going to get to, and when you're looking at a wound, the standards in the science, the standards, the methodology you would actually use to look at it and see if there's points of comparison, to see if there's similarity. What standard are you working with?
I'm not so sure I understand what you mean by standard then, because I know how I evaluate wounds.
Hank Brennan is referring to the industry standard of dog bite analysis. He's implying that there is an industry standard of dog bite analysis. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, there is not. If there were, every doctor in this country would be required to meet that standard. Every forensic pathologist in this country would be required to be certified in that standard. It doesn't exist.
You have personal experience where you've treated dog wounds and you look at it and you're simply deciding whether or not to you this looks similar. You're giving your personal aside, aren't you?
Guys, I'm going to start yelling. I'm trying not to. What the hell does an expert witness do on the stand? What does an expert witness do on the stand? They provide their expert witness testimony, their expert opinion. Dr. Russell has been a doctor for over 30 years, a forensic pathologist for over 30 years. She provided her expert opinion. And here is Hank Brennan acting like, who are you? What makes you so sure? You could be anybody. Hello. She has credentials. She has 30 years of experience, Hank Brennan is pushing it, guys.
I actually find that offensive.
Oh, okay. Well, is that what you're doing?
No.
Thank you. Yes. Oh my gosh, what a dick.
So if you're comparing it to an actual science, a standard, a methodology, I want to learn that methodology from you. So what I'm asking you is, tell us, where does that come from, the methodology where you have a point of comparison, where you look at a wound and you compare it for similarities to another item?
There are several publish peer-reviewed articles.
Like think about it, guys. Like a doctor is assessing a gunshot wound on a body, right? And the doctor has seen 10,000 gunshot wounds over the span of 30 years, right? But through Hank Brennan's logic, that doctor has to have a photo in his pocket and pull it out in order to reference the photo and compare it to the gunshot wound on the body to know for sure that the gunshot wound on the body meets the standard of the photo. Like, no, fucking A, man. Doctors are treating wounds as they come in, and they see enough of them to know which wounds are what caused what. That's Dr. Marie Russell. She knows damn well that those are dog bites.
That describe what to look for, how to observe, evaluate, and then sometimes treat wounds, dog bite wounds. There are, several authors that have published similar things. And in terms of there being an organization that says, here is the standard for dog bite wounds, right. I don't think that there is one.
When you say you don't think there is one, if you're an expert in this field, you would know that there is not one, is there?
There is not one that I know of, correct.
Well, you're not guessing there might be one you don't know of?
I don't know of any published standard by an organization.
So it'd be fair to say, when you are giving an opinion, what you...
I'm gonna stop it here, guys, because I still want to show you the photos of Aiden and the short video I took of Aiden when he left the district court. But I warned you guys before. I start yelling sometimes when I'm listening to the prosecution, and despite Hank Brennan being a new prosecutor to this case, he seems to be far more triggering than Adam Lally. Like, to me, Dr. Russell doesn't deserve this. We've all witnessed her, right? We've witnessed her on the stand for hours between the initial trial and these Dobert hearings. Like, we've witnessed her enough to know that she's a gentle spirit and she's passionate about her work, and she excelled in her work with all those multiple fellowships and being an instructor and teaching students. Like, she loves her job. What she does, she loves it, and she loves analyzing dog bite wounds. And Hank Brennan is treating her like she's a nobody, like she's a joke, and she even said she's offended by it. Like, it's not right, Like, and so many prosecutors do this, by the way. I've seen some defense attorneys do this, but it's more so prosecutors that do this, and Hank Brennan is one of those prosecutors. Just unnecessarily cruel, in my opinion. Let's see the Aiden photos I took. Well, I didn't take this one. Someone else took this one. But this was right when the Karen Reed supporters and I exited the courtroom where Aidan Kearney's hearing took place at the district court, which is right across the street from the Superior Court. But anyway, again, Aidan Kearney was kind enough to take a photo with me. And I'm grateful. And it's no different from any other occurrence, any other photo I've taken with him. He just gladly takes the photo. He's kind. Again, I've said it in the previous video. He's kind, he's approachable, and he will take a photo with anybody. So as an independent journalist, Aidan Kearney is, to me, pretty awesome. He's consistent. He's on it when it comes to the Karen Reed case. And when his supporters want to see him and speak to him, he's humble enough to give them the time of day. But I will show you the next video when he's exiting the courthouse, the district court. And then I will make a part 9 soon. I wanted to show you my post related to what I'm about to say next. If you didn't see my post from yesterday on YouTube, in my post, I wrote, just left Aidan Kearney's hearing at the Norfolk County District Court. Lindsay Gaetani was not granted an extension on her restraining order, and her RAPE accusations were disproved. Congrats to Aidan Kearney. And just to explain what the hearing was really about, Lindsay Gattani was attempting to extend the restraining order she had on Aidan Kearney for another year. So if you didn't know, Lindsay Gattani had the restraining order put on Aidan Kearney back in December of 2023. So it was going to expire December of 2024. And she asked for an extension to prevent it from expiring. And she was not granted that extension, thankfully. She had the opportunity to present evidence that would allow the restraining order to be extended, and the evidence she provided was insufficient. And we sat there, again, because the Karen Reed supporters were not permitted inside the Superior Courthouse in order to witness the Dobert hearing in person. We all crossed the street to the district courthouse where Aidan Kearney's hearing was taking place. So it worked out in the end. We were able to attend a court hearing either way. It just didn't happen the way we would have liked. Again, we were standing out in the freezing cold. A lot of the Karen Reed supporters were standing out in the freezing cold for hours before I had even arrived. And yet they were not permitted inside the Superior Courthouse. But thankfully, Aidan Kearney had a hearing just across the street at the district courthouse, and we were all permitted to sit in the courthouse. There was plenty of room for all of us to sit and to witness Aidan Kearney's hearing. And Aidan wouldn't have been there had Lindsay not wanted to extend the restraining order. So the only reason Aidan Kearney had to appear at the hearing yesterday was because of Lindsay Gattani, and it was a waste of time because she was not granted the extension. But it was also validating for all of us who've been following the issues surrounding Lindsay Gattani and Aidan Kearney and her accusations of him that he had RAPE her, and that was also disproven during the hearing. So just to inform you guys from what I witnessed while I was sitting in the hearing, this is factual based on what I witnessed as a witness to the hearing among other Karen Reed supporters. Lindsay Gattani attempted to extend the restraining order against Aidan Kearney, and she did not provide evidence. She mentioned a lot of events, but she did not provide evidence to back up that those events actually occurred. And then Mary Bagwell was also there. I sat near Mary Bagwell, and Mary Bagwell became emotional while Lindsay Gattani was giving her version of events, because Mary Bagwell and Lindsay Gattani were friends at one point. And at one point, Mary Bagwell was against Karen Reed. At one point, Mary Bagwell was for the prosecution, but Mary changed her mind. And Lindsay Gattani, during Aidan's hearing yesterday, had accused Mary Bagwell of flip-flopping between sides. And Mary Bagwell was on the stand, and Lindsay was questioning her. And Mary said, I have my own mind. I looked into it myself. I have my own opinion. I changed my opinion based on what I researched, So, and I respect Mary for that, for her to stand in her authenticity and say, yeah, there was a point that I was for the prosecution. There was a point I wanted Karen Reed to get locked up for this. But now, after I've informed myself, after I've educated myself about the facts of the case, I no longer feel that way. I am standing with the Karen Reed supporters because I support Karen Reed. Like that's that takes someone with humility to say that, and to not be so stubborn and ego-minded to stick to one side because you don't want to be proven wrong, or you don't want to be proven right, or like some people will just pick a team even when they know they're wrong. And to me, that's what Lindsay Gaetani did. She stuck with the hatred campaign against Aidan Kearney because she couldn't go back. She had already said too much bullshit about Aiden to go back, and she had to stick to her guns in order to save any fragment of credibility she had left. And now she has none, and we all witnessed that. The Karen Reed supporters and we all witnessed that during Aidan Kearney's hearing yesterday. Lindsay Gaetani made a bunch of accusations and brought a bunch of so-called scenarios and situations that happened between she and Aidan Kearney, but she had zero evidence to back it up. And I'm not going to say everything that happened during the hearing, but I want to highlight that there was a point that Aidan Kearney was on the stand, and Lindsay Gaetani was permitted to ask him questions. And there was a question she asked in which she said, "Aiden, isn't it true that you are APED me and that you recorded it while I was blackout drunk?" And Aiden's response was, "No, you were not blackout drunk. It was consensual. And I even showed you the video the next day, and you said you couldn't remember." And this was through text message. The following day, there was evidence of text message that Lindsay Gaetani was not at all offended by the video, that she was in fact excited and happy about the video, and she found it funny that she could not remember what happened. And according to Aiden had showed the video to police officers to prove that it was consensual. And the police officers watched the video, and they were able to tell that it was consensual. So there were no charges at any point between Lindsay's accusations and Aidan Kearney showing the police officers that video, and afterward. Never was Aidan Kearney charged with RAPED Lindsay Gaetani. But she still chose to bring that up during the hearing yesterday with zero evidence to back up what she was saying. That actually the opposite was true. That actually there was evidence showing and proving that the opposite was true. The sex video, the videotape, not videotape, but the sex video that was recorded was evidence, because I didn't see it, but according to Aiden, the police officers agreed that it was consensual, and the text messages following the recording the next day, after Aiden had recorded it, the next day, Lindsay Gaetani thought it was funny, and she was excited about it, happy about it, all proven through text message. But she wanted to push this narrative. She wanted to weaponize it by claiming that it was against her will. And it was the same with this restraining order that she was attempting to have extended. I've had to have a restraining order against someone in the past. It's not fun. It's scary when you have to put a restraining order on someone. And to me, Lindsay Gaetani weaponized the system of restraining orders. In fact, Aidan Kearney's attorney used the term weaponized. He said Lindsay Gaetani weaponized the whole process of having a restraining order put on someone. And this happens all the time, guys. If you follow enough cases, this happens all the time where people frivolously put a restraining order on someone, and they are granted that restraining order with very little evidence, and then that restraining order is used as a weapon to incarcerate that person. despite the person not actually being a culprit, despite that person not actually being dangerous. For any restraining order, you're supposed to feel like you're in imminent danger. And despite Lindsay not having any evidence, she swore to the judge yesterday that she was in imminent danger, but she was not. She had no evidence. What it is, like I said, what it really is that unlike Mary Bagwell, who went from being against Karen Reed to supporting Karen Reed and being humble enough to explain why she changed her mind about Karen Reed, unlike Mary Bagwell, Lindsay Kearney was wrong, and she chose to remain wrong because in her mind, it would be like saving her credibility, even though it was furthest from what actually happened. By the end of the hearing yesterday, in my opinion, Lindsay Kearney has zero credibility. She had every opportunity to present evidence of those crazy accusations she was making toward Aidan Kearney. And she's highly intelligent. If you listened to the way in which she spoke, the way she carried on her case, she knew what she was doing. She wasn't even nervous, guys. She was confident. And she persisted in her accusations despite having no evidence. Okay? So now I know, like, despite reading Aidan Kearney's take on the situation, I know firsthand, being a witness in that courtroom yesterday, I know firsthand that Lindsay Kearney has zero credibility. And Aidan is fortunate enough to have left her when he did. And it's unfortunate, however, that in the process of leaving her, she then went on to put a frivolous restraining order on him that put him in prison for weeks without his children during the holidays, by the way. He was actually in there for months, but during the time that it happened, he missed Christmas with his children. And then, during the hearing yesterday, Aidan talked about how his mother passed away this past summer, So Aidan started 2024 in prison. He was locked up because of Lindsay Kearney. And then his mother died a few months later. Aidan Kearney's mother died a few months later. So to me, it's salt in the wound. It makes it all the more horrendous. Her accusations were to him. It makes this entire thing all the more ugly and nasty that she was so relentless and willing to be a tool for Tully, because the reason Aidan Kearney was locked up during that time was not because Lindsay Kearney called the local police department to have Aidan Kearney arrested. She never called the local police department to have him arrested for a so-called violation of the fake restraining order, the wrongfully issued restraining order. She called Tully, Detective Tully, and Tully contacted law enforcement to have Aidan arrested. And who is Tully, if you guys aren't paying attention? Tully is one of the lead investigators of the Karen Reed case. And who is Aidan Kearney? Aidan Kearney is the independent journalist who is highlighting the corruption in the Karen Reed case. One of the lead investigators of the Karen Reed case was in cahoots with Lindsay Kearney to have Aidan Kearney locked up. The independent journalist who is covering the Karen Reed case and covering the corruption in the Karen Reed case. So those who wanted to prosecute Karen Reed worked with Aidan Kearney's ex-girlfriend to have Aidan Kearney locked up so that Aidan Kearney couldn't keep talking about the corruption in the Karen Reed case. You guys get it? That really happened. And I know firsthand now, I can say that I know firsthand that Lindsay Gaetani had every opportunity to prove her case yesterday against Aidan Kearney, and she failed miserably. Where's the proof, Lindsay? You had your opportunity. And without proof, I can only determine that you are full of shit. Thank you for watching.
Like I said in there when I testified, I no longer have to live with this cloud over my head and this fear of being set up and sent back to that horrible place where I spent 60 days of my life. So, starting at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, baby.
Great job, Fredo.
Watch it. Thank you guys all for coming. And, one less thing to think about, and now it's on the bigger things and focusing on what's going on across the street. My other cases over there, that one less thing to worry about. First of many victories to come. Yeah. Thank you guys. Yeah, I gotta get out of here. So
Congratulations.
yeah.